This is Navisaurus, and we will go from really exciting to unfortunately kind of bland. Oh, this is all we have of this guy, and these are different views. This is the ilium, so front and back, sort of, and then this is the ischium, part of one of the hip bones that points backwards. This is an iguanodontian dinosaur. It's kind of like Tontosaurus, Dryosaurus. Obviously, it's a little bit hard to tell how much more than that with this guy. I mean, you can say a few things about how it walked, maybe, and that's about it. But it does place iguanodontian dinosaurs in southern China and the Cretaceous, so that's helpful too. The original paper of this was in Chinese, so even if I knew all of the features that made it different, I can't tell you about it. This is Ungagerbil. That's Mongolian for egg lizard. And I don't know that it was found with eggs or anything like that. This is another Alphasaur, and kind of a subfamily of those guys called Parvicursorine. So like a member of the Parvicursorine tribe. That's one thing I forgot to mention about Java onyx. It's the oldest Parvicursorine, so here we have a later relative of Java onyx. We got a little bit more of a skeleton. What you're seeing here is the shin bone, so the tibia, and then you've got kind of that lower part of the leg that's formed by the toes. One of the really interesting things about these bones here is that the bone, the upper toe bone from the second toe and the fourth toe fused together, but they didn't fuse with the one in the middle. Now when you see fusion among the toe bones like this, that can be an indication that they needed extra strength. You can see similar arrangements in tyrannosaurs, other alphasaurs, and the ornithomimids. So the tyrannosaurs, like Tyrannosaurus, not necessarily fast, but the really early ones that kind of started that whole situation, they were built for speed. And so, it makes sense if you're running really fast a lot, then you're going to be pounding your feet quite a bit, and you need that extra strength. The funny thing is that for most dinosaurs, as a rule, those bones stay separate. They might cluster together. They might even kind of create pockets in the sides so that they can cluster close together, but they don't actually grow together in most cases. There are very few dinosaurs where these toe bones would have any degree of fusion. Usually it would be kind of towards the ankle joint. So they have an entire lower bit there. Just illustrates how specialized these guys were for running. And that was probably their main defense against predators, seeing as how they're teeny tiny little guys. This is the skull of Paleontology, which it's a late surviving member of a really kind of basal Troodontids group. So the paper was saying that some of the Paleontology's bones resemble something from much earlier in the Cretaceous, a Troodontid called May bone. It's nice that we've got a skull, kind of short-snouted for one of these Troodontid dinosaurs, not entirely sure why. The name Paleovenator means butterfly hunter. They're not suggesting that this guy was chasing around butterflies. I know that, here's this kind of mean theropod dinosaur, or maybe insectivorous, or there are some suggestions that Troodontids, at least some of them, would be omnivorous. So you get kind of this hippie sort of idea of, oh, he's running around chasing butterflies. Actually, the butterfly in the name refers to some butterfly shapes on the vertebrae. So it's the hunter that has butterfly shapes in its back. Dinosaurus, which means the scythe lizard next to the ocean, or tidal scythe lizard. And there's not much to it. But this is a Japanese dinosaur from the late Cretaceous. And it's a therizinosaur, naturally. We know it only from a neck bone, bit of a finger, and 3 of its claws, one of which is mostly complete. They're not particularly these scythe-like looking claws though, which is really interesting because as the Therizinosaurs, they had these claws that were shaped like scythe blades. It's the earlier ones that tend to have ones that were more hook-shaped. Guys like Falcarax that you can see around here. Not much to say about this guy because we didn't find too much, and what we found was fragmentary, but the shape of those claws for something living in the late Cretaceous, that's really, really interesting, and that could hint at some interesting things going on with Japanese Therizinosaurs. This is Sierra Ceratops, and this is a guy from New Mexico. Some of his bones were referred earlier to Torosaurus elatus, but it's significantly older. I mean, not too much older, but significantly enough to say, yeah, this probably wasn't Torosaurus, and inspired people to take another look at it and find that it was extinct. But it is a Catatosaurian, and so it looked appreciably enough like Torosaurus to say that would be kind of what it looks like. But its closest relatives would be, gosh, I can't remember the name of one, but the other would be Coahuila ceratops from Mexico. And so it's a hint that there was some kind of endemism going on in the southwest and down into Mexico during the late Cretaceous. This is the promised Eushisaurus. And it is a basal phyreophoran, which means that if you've ever heard of Scelidosaurus, this guy would probably look a lot more like Scelidosaurus than would look like either Stegosaurus or Ankylosaurus. This guy predates that split, or rather, it's from a body plan that predates that split. But it is kind of in the same rough geological neighborhood as Bashanosaurus, which would be the oldest stegosaur. So we're starting to get some hints from China about what happened kind of around that split. Obviously there's going to have to be a lot more study done, and hopefully we'll find some more fossils that will help to clarify that. But yeah, Bashanosaurus and Eushisaurus together are giving us kind of a glimpse into that part of armored dinosaur development.